Hello and welcome to Angel Cake Entertainment's live season review for The Challenge, Season 37, Spies, Lies, and Allies. I will tell you right now, I will never say those three words in succession in one sentence ever again. After this reunion show is over and I do my last video, I'm done. I'm not doing it.
Let's hope so.
Ever again. Gosh, that I'm going to be so critical for the next season's title. Whenever that shows up, I'm going to be like, if it's as goofy as this, we know we're in trouble for the season. But thank you to everybody who's joined us on this Sunday night. And if you're rewatching this after the fact, thank you for taking the time to watch this live. I'm here joined by my friends and co-hosts for the night, Angie from Kiss My Cheeks TV.
Hey, everybody.
And Charles Warren from charleswarrenpresents.com and many other big ventures. You might know him as he is the sponsor to all the Tiny Table Talks this season. So had those ads running. And thank you to everybody who is here, like Michelle, who says, hey, to me, Angie and Charles.
What's up, Michelle?
Hey, Michelle.
So this is going to be run kind of like how it was for Double Agents, which seems like a lifetime ago. But we're just going to go over like the cast, the format, the daily challenges, eliminations, kind of go over a grade and how we feel about this season overall when compared to other seasons. And we're just going to go through it, have a nice conversation, see how long it goes, and just have some fun with it.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions or comments before we start into the cast portion?
I'm excited. I'm just ready to talk.
I'm excited too. I've got my thinking cap on to remember back to all of
Right.
because it was such a huge cast. But I want to say ditto on the Spies, Allies, and whatever that third one was. Whatever the rhyming phrase was. Please, no more spy themes. Like, I'm over the spy themes because none of it has to do with being a spy. So for 38, just call it 38. Like, if it's not going to be a Rivals or whatever, something fun like that, just call it 38 and let it be.
Right. Yeah. We've been pushing and trucking through this season. I'm not sure if everybody knows, but the trio, we've been staying together as we do throughout this season. And without you guys, to be honest, I don't even know if I would have finished this season. Because this season, for me in particular, was a struggle to get through. But yeah, thanks for having us. And this is going to be a good one because we already talk about this on a regular basis. So let's get to it. I'm ready.
Oh yeah. I think a lot of people share the same sentiment that you have on the season in general. It was a long one. When I look back at this, I'm on the challenge Wikia, so I can help spur on the conversation, know what the daily challenges names were and everything. But to see August 9th as the start date to this season, and now we are in December, almost in 2022, it's incredibly long. Like, that is so long.
Right.
So let's get started with the cast, since that was the first thing we were introduced to. That was the first portion of the season we were introduced to, besides the trailer and the name. We saw that it was going to be 17 U.S. competitors, 17 international competitors. We realized that that wasn't going to last long since there were like 2 early DQs, and then 2 more U.S. competitors came in for those international players that left early. But tons of rookies, barely any challenge champions on the season. What do we think about this cast? Let's go with Charles first. What did you think about this cast when you saw them, once you got to know about them or read about their past shows or anything? Were you impressed by them, or were you kind of very skeptical on the season? And what did you think about them as they went through the season?
Through the door. Right. So at the very beginning, I think we were all kind of excited. I was excited that we had so many new international competitors from countries that we haven't seen before. Super excited about that. On the women's side, I did feel it was weaker than what I would have liked. The men, I felt like almost everybody was strong across the board. So at the beginning, I was super excited for that. And the fact that they were bringing, yes, Michaela, the fact that they were bringing some survivor players in, we were all
Mhm.
excited about that. Wishing that Jay and Natalie were there, but um, overall, I enjoyed it. I was excited at the beginning for sure.
Okay. And did that excitement wane any during the season?
Yes. So once we get into like formatting and things like that, once we found out that the vets could pick anybody to throw in, um, the excitement for the cast kind of went out the window because girls, the rookies had no chance at the beginning because they weren't sticking together.
Mhm.
And the fact that you could just throw anybody in, not a pair, but anybody, kind of ruined it for wanting to see new people go far. Yeah.
Yeah, and them have a chance at
Right.
all during the season.
Mhm.
Angie, what do you think about the cast? And I guess we could talk about the rookies in general. What did you think about the rookies? Maybe who stood out to you at all
Of all the
during the
rookies,
season?
I was very excited when the cast list first came out. I just knew this was going to be a great season. I was really excited to see a lot of the rookies. Coriel was one of them. Everyone knows I'm Team Michaela, Team Kels. I was here to get to know Tatcha, Berna, Esther, like all of those people. I was excited. Even from the beginning, Emmy kind of looked exciting. But again, once we saw the format of partners and the whole partnership not having to go into elimination, but we can pick eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It was set up from the beginning for the rookies to not last this season, and I think production had to know that. But this season missed out on having one, the skull twist would have been good. Two, a rookie whisperer, kind of like a Wes. Um, Maybe that one season when Big T kind of did it. Like they missed this season, missed somebody that could gather the rookies and switch up the game. That's what this season missed. If they would have just had one person one time to get the rookies together on something before it was too late, that would have made a splash this season. But overall, I like the rookies. A lot of the rookies I would like to see come back on a different format show.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of the rookies, I think the rookies had a lot of potential, like Red is not a flavor says here, but the ones that were the most exciting or that were going to shake up the actual game left so early. And
Mm-hmm.
so disappointing to see. Like, I was excited because of course I watched like everything under the sun. So Kells from Too Hot to Handle,
Mm-hmm.
Priscilla from Love Island, the players, I mean the US Love Island isn't that exciting, but it was players that I actually knew from other reality shows that I was kind of getting excited about, and then they were so gone or they were overshadowed by a different rookie that wasn't very exciting or didn't do much in the grand
Mm.
scheme of things, or kind of just went with the vets, whatever the vets did. So for me, I would like to see a lot of the rookies that didn't do a whole lot or were gone super early back. And like
Mm-hmm.
you said, Angie, I want them on a different season. I want them in like pairs where they have to stay in those pairs. And you can't just easily like, oh, I'm gonna vote in this person, even though they weren't losing or anything. Like it's to me, I didn't like the format as much because it was to the vets' advantage. Like
Right.
Advantage. Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
could just, oh, I can pick two from any place that I want if I'm the agency. Like, okay, sure. That just doesn't fall right into the hands of just picking off the rookies one by one, getting at least two in every single elimination. But I think that I would like to see like Coriel come back. I think he
Mm-hmm.
was really strong. I think Berna did a good job, even though she was like kind of kicked to the curb from CT after she was like sticking up with Esther. And I would rather see more of the rookies come back than say like Big Brother. I don't want to see
Yes. Big Brother can
Josh
take a
or
break.
Fessy come back at least. Like I wouldn't want that.
Or Kaycee
So
and Nani.
the rookies that got far, we saw Emmy, Emmanuel, Logan. Were y'all surprised that those particular rookies were the ones to get far versus like a Michaela, Michelle?
No, they were the rookies that were attached to the vet's ass. So they consider, like, to me, Emmanuel kind of thought he was a vet just because he was attached to Kaycee. So I'm not surprised by those rookies. But I have another question. Let's just play devil's advocate. Let's say Michaela never had a piece of paper or pen in sight. Do you think she would still be the first target anyway amongst all the rookies?
Yes, I do. Because I think the US Survivor players, because possibly the vets know about them, either they watched them or they have friends that know about them or they heard something through the grapevines about them and their gameplay, especially Michelle, who's won one season and it got to the on a second season, the winner's season in particular. I think that they always had a target on their back.
Yeah.
And didn't Michaela and Renan almost win the first daily, or they came in super high up on
like
the
top
They
three.
came in second.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that also put a target on their back, that they were like, oh, well, we should just throw them into an elimination together with Michelle. So I always thought that maybe the Survivor US players in particular were going to have a tough time, whereas the Survivor international players, nobody knew much about them. and they just kind of went with the flow. Like, they really didn't do anything to really shake up the game up. They just wanted to make friends with everybody, and they got far doing it. It was just boring kind of watching it play out as it went on.
Yeah, that's true. There was definitely a cloud over survivors. Like, oh, they could do all this stuff with no food out in the wilderness. Like, what will they do against us? They had all those confessionals at the beginning. So I think Michaela, Michelle, I think they were definitely going to be looked at the beginning regardless. Why not Survivor overseas, like the Emmanuels and I think Logan was on Survivor or whatever. Why they weren't, I'm not sure.
And it was like Emmanuel and I think Logan were both second place. And Devin talked about how Emmanuel was out there for like way longer. Like, it's way longer than the US Survivor game. Like, it's like 55 days or something, like almost 2 months or something. Yeah, like that's even more intense.
That's
I feel
a long time.
I think he
that's
won.
so intense.
I think Emmanuel won.
I don't think so.
No?
I think he had that conversation with Tori, and Tori asked if he won, and he's like, no, I came in second place. Which, good job to rub it in, Tori, that he got second place right before he got eliminated. So we talked about the rookies. What do we think about the vets that were brought in? We saw some vets that were on multiple seasons prior to this one, like Big T, like Kyle, like CT. We also got some vets that weren't on like 6 seasons in a row, like Amanda and Devin, who came back for last season but wasn't on for a while. What do we think about the vet side of the cast? Were they as competitive? Do you think they did a good job? Could they do better?
They could have done better. They could have done way better. I'm assuming these are just the vets who said yes, so they had to roll with it. But I think we said this from when we drafted our fantasy teams. Like, once I saw CT, I was like, if CT doesn't get out, CT's winning. Right. And I said the same thing about Kaycee. When I looked at all the ladies on this show, I said, if Kaycee doesn't get out, she's winning. And that's exactly what happened. The vets that they brought on this season they ruined the season. It wasn't even the rookies. The vets were so cocky. Everyone acted like they had about 2 or 3 championship rings on their fingers when they did not. It was so much cockiness and I'm the best. And when did we care about puzzle queens and kings? Like, puzzles do not make the challenge. We don't care that you know how to do puzzles. We want to see you run. We want to see you do something challenging. We want to see you do something that us sitting in our house cannot do. I can sit down and do a puzzle. That does not make me a challenge person. So this season to me was very dumbed down. It was really
Mhm.
easy. Nothing looked challenging, and the vets made it hard to watch. I don't have to see any of them back. Not a single vet that was on this season. None of them have to come back for 38.
Mm.
Not a
Dang,
single vet.
that's spicy right there. Charles, do you feel that same sentiment?
Let's be real about it. These vets from this season, they're not the A-list girls. They're not. The
Mm-mm.
Devins, the Amandas, the Kyles, the Joshes. You have those characters being the lead on your franchise. Sorry, baby, you're losing. Like, they're not the A-list girls of the challenge. They are not the who's of the best. And the fact that we had to watch a season of them carrying the franchise,
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad it's over. But yeah, that's how I feel about the vets. Love CT. He was obviously, we knew he was gonna first
We
pick for the
did.
guys, CT for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I've done 2 fantasy drafts for the Challenge 37, one with our trio and then one with another trio. And it was the first male pick for each draft was CT, and then the first woman pick of each draft was Kaycee. And I
Period.
think it just shows how predictable the season was that the winners were picked in the first pick of each like gender, and then it was over. Like everything else was just like, well, whatever. At least we did extra points. The other one was just winner's pick, so I was hosed out of that one because I had the middle pick, so
Oh,
on both
Dang.
sides. So I was done. I was done. But yeah, I agree. This vets were they were competent. They were not competent, but they were complacent with just wanting to make it as far as they could. We didn't have any vets that had the taste of victory, that had that taste of a final in a while. I mean, Kyle was somebody that came in last season, right before the finals, was eliminated, made to the finals in Total Madness, but he still was like thinking that it was going to be a team one. So he wanted to be with CT. So he was willing to keep CT in the game, and really who was going to take him out at that point. But everybody else, when starting the season, I just felt like there was a complacency with them and their gameplay that they were like, we'll just ride out this vet truce until we can't do it anymore. And then we'll just gang up on people and we'll make it to the end. And the whole point was just making it to the end. They didn't care like about making moves to set themselves up for a win. There's a reason why CT, I want to say Bananas, and definitely Wes all grab up these rookies because they're impressionable. We even saw them. I mean, they were gravitating towards the vets, yet the vets just use them to get them out and keep all their friends in the game. Why couldn't Devin or somebody make an army of rookies to where at that certain point when the numbers were so close, I don't want to give Devin a whole bunch of credit, but if it was so close, he could use them as numbers to take the vets out and then set himself up better to win, even though a lot of the rookies I think were in better shape than him and were better players than him if coming down to the finals. But it's like that's the difference between vets that actually have winning on the brain and not just like, I just want to make it as far as I can. I haven't made it to a finals since Rivals 3. I want to make it to a finals just so I can get blown out of the water by everybody else. I don't know. That's just my thought on the vets. We need more vets that are eyeing the win. That's not just, oh, let's just make it far. I want to see how far I can make it. How long can I ride this wave kind of thing.
Right. But we definitely said that early on. I particularly remember with Anissa. We were like, why is Anissa not working with these rookies? Why is she not getting them together? Why is she just riding the wave with the rest of them? And later on in the season, we brought up the fact that Corey should have done that earlier on. Corey was never at the top of the rank when it came to the vets. So when it got down to vets only, Corey and Nelson had no chance because the inner circle really didn't care about them anyways.
Yeah.
100%.
No,
100%.
you just said a name that threw me.
Anissa.
You said Anissa. I don't even remember Anissa being on the show. Was Anissa on the show? I don't recall. But what you just said is what disappointed me in Corey and Nelson. This vet alliance can only last but so long. The vets, I'm surprised Corey and Nelson didn't see themselves at the bottom of that vet alliance because it was clear as day you're at the bottom. I don't understand why they didn't do something to gather at least 5 or 6 rookies under their belt to have some numbers. It's like Corey kind of just wrote it out to, okay, I guess now I got to go in. Like Corey and Nelson, I'm very surprised Nelson made it to the final, but I have my own opinions about that. But I'm just very surprised no one of the vets said, okay, we're going to do a vet alliance. Okay, maybe the first 5 episodes vet alliance. But at some point, you have to think of this vet alliance, where do I sit and when do I make a move so I just don't sit at first out of the vets. That was disappointing as well.
Yeah. And to what Sunshine was saying, Corey was working with the rookies, but it was a little too late. It was at that point where the numbers were already tipping to the vet side, and Corey, I don't think, made a bridge to gather enough vets to also combat with the rookies, because he wanted to work with Jeremiah, which I don't think had a strong social capital with anybody in the game at that point. He was working with Priscilla, but if he could have grabbed Kells before Fessy was trying to throw him in or something to that effect, and grabbed Amanda, because they have that relationship with each other, but it just didn't work out that way. It just
he could have got with Kells, Corey L. He could have fought to keep Michaela. It was a lot of different things that they could have done before, like working with, I don't even remember his name, the other guy that you just mentioned,
Jeremiah.
Yeah, that was way too far in the game. Like, he waited way too long. And like I said, we said that about Anissa. You forgot she was on the season. Because we were like, every season she's winning. You know, she's winning the dailies, but throwing in these rookies when the vets, they don't pick her to run finals with them. They don't pick her at the end of the game. So why are you throwing in these rookies that don't have nothing against you? Like,
I think they would have picked Anissa this season.
Yeah.
They let Devin go through, so maybe they would have let Anissa go through.
Well, that's a thing, though. It's kind of reminds me of like Total Madness. She made it far into that season. She even won an elimination earlier on in that season. But by the time we got to that point where push came to shove, they threw her back in because none of the guys wanted to run with her. So it's like, I totally agree with what Charles was saying. She should have learned from those past 2 seasons and been like, I need to work with people that may not know my skill set and would just want to get to the finals with me and work with them. And she should have grabbed onto Corey, grabbed onto Nelson, and maybe use that to help out and get farther. Talk about the numbers game. It's just a numbers game at this point. Like, I feel like this is just Big Brother within the challenge, which is very frustrating. I will say, I'm doing a full series rewatch to do like videos and documentaries and in-depth ranking of every single season of the challenge. I'm all the way up to season 23. I'm on season 23. I've watched 1 through 22. I'm on 23. And I'm telling you that this season reminds me so much of Battle of the Seasons 2012, where it was a ton of rookies. It was a big overpowering alliance. Frank was the mastermind, where he was like, there was a point in episode 5, I believe, episode 5 or 6, I think it was 6, where Alton is like working out in the gym, and Frank says that the game is won in numbers, or the strength is in the numbers, not the personality. And it hit me like, that's where we're at this point right now. It's all about the numbers, less about the personalities, and now it's just all about physical game. And it's like, no, please don't do this. Like, I don't know what we need to do. Maybe bring in the kill card. We have to nullify the numbers, because that's what was happening in the challenge. Then we had season 25, where they had the kill card. Whoever did poorly in the challenges went directly into the elimination. Then there was a group that if you did lower than the average, you were in the draw, and like there was barely anything you could do as number wise, because it came down to performance.
Right. But I feel like production tried to prevent that at the beginning. I feel like with the casting, they casted more rookies than they did vets. So, it's literally the rookies' fault. The fact that they didn't know that they had the numbers.
But it was a lot of international rookies who I'm just going to jump out there and say maybe they aren't familiar with the game. Like,
true.
It was a lot of people who were just happy to be there. Like, Emmy was just happy to be there. Manuel was just lucky to be with Kaycee. So some of these rookies, I would say majority of the rookies at the beginning were kind of like, as long as it's not me, it could flow however it's going to flow as long as it's not me. And then some of the rookies had no incentive to join up with the other rookies because Emmanuel and Kaycee are winning everything. Why does he want to have a rookie alliance? You know, I just didn't like this. If the game would have been the winning team has to put in a winning team and not eeny, meeny, miny, mo, we would have saw a totally different challenge.
Right, I agree.
Agreed.
That one thing ruined the season.
I agree. But didn't Anissa win a lot of challenges at the beginning? She won like 2.
Because she was with
Logan.
this season.
She was with Logan.
And one of them they gave to her. I ain't giving Anissa too much.
We won the first episode.
Right, but the fact that she was winning, that's at the beginning. That is the moment where you can gather your numbers, baby. Like, she could have changed this entire game. There is no way in this world CT would have kept her as a partner in the end. So in her mind, she should have been trying to get rid of the best people. Not because she kept talking about, these are my friends. These are my friends in real life. Like, girl, what? This is why you haven't won the big pot. Because this is not best friend race. This is not what this is.
And then she just did a horrible season on All Stars where she came in dead last in the final. Like, oh, I've never made a final. And then she finally runs one and came in dead last. So she doesn't have a good resume. Like, Anissa can sit down.
All right, we went a little long on the cast, but there's a lot of people to talk about. 34 people, also 36 because 2 people left, and then they brought in 2 more people. There's a lot of people. First of all, don't have this many people on one cast. That's way too many. Too many episodes, too many people to get to know, and don't do all these format changes, which we will get into the format here in a second. I guess we'll start with a ranking out of 1 through 5, 5 being the best cast ever, to 1 being the worst cast ever. Where would you rank this cast in terms of however you want to rank them? So 1 being no thank you, not good, to 5 being this cast was awesome, woohoo. Where would you rank that? Everybody in the chat can rank it as well. I'll start putting numbers up. Does anybody want to put out their numbers first?
I would give it a solid 2.25 would be my number. Yes.
There you go.
I don't think, because to me, a 2.5 would be average. I think it's right below average, especially seeing how it went. Like, at the beginning of the season, seeing the list, I would have said like a 3, maybe a 3.25. But after seeing the show and the game, I would say a 2.25.
Okay. Angie?
If we're going on cast alone, I'm going to rank the cast a little bit higher because I'm not going to downplay my excitement of the cast. I'm going to give it maybe a 3.35. Like, it's not quite a 4, which I think would be great, but I love this cast. When we get to the format, that's going to be a low grade. But as far as just the people they picked to put on my TV screen, I was excited to see majority of those people on my TV screen. So I'm going to give it like a 3.3.
Okay, I think I'm in the middle of both of you. Maybe I'm leaning more towards Charles' side because the challenge hasn't done well at bringing back rookies, and I want to see more of the rookies. Like for this cast to be a ton of rookies, we better see majority of them come back in some way. If not the next season, see the next one after that or something. Like we need to have more investment in these rookies. So to me, I think I would give it a 2.8. I think the rookies were great in some ways. Some of them really shocked me in good and bad ways. I think the vets really were not the good ones of the season. So cast, I would say 2.8. And hopefully we can see Kels come back, Michaela come back, and get some real strong Priscilla come back and really get some strong gameplay from them in next seasons and seasons to come, to where we can look back at this season and go, wow, this is where it all started, and be proud of saying that.
But see, those are not even the rookies I want to see back.
Which rookies do you want to see back?
Not Kels, not Michaela.
No, not a 5. That threw me off. Okay, so the rookies that I would like to see back, I think Ed is a franchise player. Like Ed, to me, Ed, he has the charisma, he has the American look. He could definitely be a future player for the challenge. Ed is one for me. Girl, we missing so many people. Corey L is somebody I want to see come back.
I like Corey L.
I want Emmy to come back, and Logan. So if I had to pick 4, those are my 4. Logan, Emmy, Corey L, and who did I say? Who was my first person? Ed. Yes.
I didn't like Ed because he quit.
And Esther. I like Esther too.
I like Esther. I like all of the rookies pretty much. I don't agree. Like, how do you not have Michaela and Kels on the list?
Just amongst the rookies, I wouldn't care to see them again. To me, Michaela, I was excited about her, but to me, she lived up to my my false expectations, because watching her play just reminded me of how horrible she is as a social player. Michaela is a horrible social player. If you saw her on Survivor, she is not good socially. So I feel like if she comes back, she's going to be Michaela again. Yeah.
I don't agree, but I wasn't saying those were the only rookies I wanted to come back. I think if those are like the rookies addition to, but I would like to see the 3 that I named first come back sooner than say the ones that maybe you named, because I didn't have them on the top of my head like the other one. But let's move on. We're already 33 minutes into this and we only gotten through the cast. Let's move on to the format. I'm sure we don't have anything bad to say about the format, right? This is A+ format, right? So let's go into this. The international players had to pick a U.S. contestant to get partnered up with. We found out that if you win into the agency, you have power and you can vote somebody in, or the house votes somebody in. And then the agency gets to pick 2 players at random. Well, not at random, but anybody that they want, whether they pick 2 partnered people or 2 random partner people. And then whoever wins can pick whoever they want to steal. And everybody swaps partners, except in the first couple episodes where everybody picked Devin twice and then picked Tori twice. And then Nani was picked, I think, a couple of times. And then we moved to teams halfway through. And then we had domination of the Emerald team. Then some Sapphire wins. Ruby won nothing. Then solo, team, and then pairs again in the final. All in the final. Man, where do we begin? What did we think about? What did we think about everything? How was the overall feel of this season, taking away the cast? Let's start with Angie this time. What do you think about the format?
I was thrown off when you said Devin got picked twice as a partner. What world do we do that in? But that's how we know the format is off. But from the beginning, I didn't mind the partners. What I didn't like about the partnership is that it was an uneven amount of rookies to vets. That should have been even.
Mhm.
So that could have took away from some of that rookie stuff. The format was destroyed with the elimination format of how the winning pair can pick whoever they want to go in, not a whole team. And then the true setup for the fail was the three stones: emerald, sapphire, ruby. After that first elimination on teams, all the challenges were set up for whoever has the most people will win.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like just a downward spiral from there. Because, like, one, Emerald team is not all that. You have Devin and Josh. How are they winning anything? But, and Nani. So the format was awful. Please don't ever do that again. Like, if we're going to do partners, be partners. If we're going to do teams, be teams. If
Mhm.
it's going to be solo, be solo. If it's going to be a free agent format where we're going to do a variation amongst the weeks, let it be more variety and let the eliminations be a variety as well. But this format, it kind of seemed rushed. None of it had to do with spy work, what I would think a spy should do. And that's it. Don't ever do this format again.
Yeah, I agree. Just thinking about what you were saying, I don't think there was ever a season that they swapped formats in the midway through or at some point where I think anybody was like, "Yeah, that was a good choice," because I loved War of the Worlds 1, but the point when they split up to be a solo team just randomly in the middle of it, I did not like that at all. I mean, I liked the gameplay and how everybody did after that, but it just seemed odd to where it was pairs and then went to solo. So I agree with everything you said wholeheartedly. Charles, do you agree with what Angie said and my seconding the motion of what Angie said?
Yeah, if it's gonna be teams, let it be teams, like you said. I remember when we were reviewing it way back when, I definitely felt like that was just a pulling of straws by production because at that point, the scale really had been tipped in the vets' favor. And I
Mm-hmm.
guess I felt like production was trying to save some rookies. Like at that time, they were trying to be like, well, can we keep some rookies to the end? So they changed the format. Um, but I would have to say that the very beginning, and I've been watching the challenge since Battle of the Sexes, Battle of the Sexes 2, way back in the
Mm-hmm.
day. And this had to be one of my favorite, like episode one, two, or whatever. Like the very beginning of the season, I was super excited. The fact they had the portfolios, like the little iPads, and they were
Mm-hmm.
the international people had to pick the other players. I like that part. That was exciting for me. So, but
That was one
Yeah.
part I did not like. I didn't like the deliberation where everyone had an open iPad and could see who voted for who, because to me that's like an intimidation factor for the rookies. Where, like, if someone wanted to make a slick move, you really couldn't because it's three or four people over your shoulder or to your left or to your right that can see what you're doing. I didn't like that. I'm like, if we're going to be spies, let's vote in secret. And I feel like if it was a secret vote, then maybe we could have shook some things up. But
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not the iPads with the voting. I mean, like the iPads at the very beginning where they had the profiles of the vets, where it's like 0 wins, this many
oh,
Yeah,
eliminations,
yeah, yeah.
where they
Yeah.
had to those rookies that most of them didn't watch the show for real, so they got to see the Anisas and the CTs on the to pick from. I liked that at the very beginning. That's what I'm talking
I
about.
didn't understand that at the very beginning, the way people were running through that forest and picking partners. How did CT not be picked first? How did Michaela end up, who was one of the first ones out of the forest, with whoever she ended up with, which was a rookie? Like, I didn't really trust that process. It kind of felt staged. I didn't understand how they were picking the way they were picking.
I think, well, and that's confusing as well because they give them some time to research and they give them their portfolios and everything. But in the midst of that daily challenge or what they were doing, it's so chaotic, it's so hectic. You kind of just run to the first person that you see. And so if the first person you see is Michaela sitting there in the middle front and you want a partner, you don't want to miss out on a partner, whereas CT is all the way in the back cowering behind the giant bricks, hoping that somebody would finally venture over to see him and stuff. It doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense why they would give him all these clues on what to do if nobody's really thinking like, oh, I want this person, besides Priscilla, who ran for Corey, but Corey was unable to be gotten by her. She went to Nelson. But yeah, I don't know. That now that you bring that up, it was very confusing to me now that they couldn't just play. Like if they played a daily for them and that player, kind of like in War of the Worlds 1, where you had the vets and you had the rookies or prospects doing a challenge, and then you kind of get to know them. Once you're done, you get to see where they placed in both physical and a puzzle. I mean, that makes more sense than just running through a thing going like, I want CT because he's a winner, but I'm freaking out with a sledgehammer. Right. And I'm just gonna pick Jeremiah. Let's go, kind of thing. So
I like that season too, where I get to see how you perform, and then based on how you perform, I get to pick. It's not.
And that's how Fresh Meat were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, so let's move on to the format because it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So let's just grade the format and we can get through the daily challenges because I feel like we could be here forever on the format and we would just all agree it was not good. It was not the best it could be. But what would you give it on a scale of 1 to 5? Again, 5 being it's the best format. They should use this every single season. Or 1 being never do this format ever again. Pick one or the other. Or you could think of like, okay, I like this side of the format, but not this side of the format. But then again, you're kind of going over the whole thing. Like, what would you think? What would you give it? Yeah, okay.
Since
Angie, what would you say?
Go less than a 1, it's a 1, because I was going to say 0.5, but
me too. Ding, ding, ding.
Let's do 1. This is very easy. Format gets a 1.
Yeah. Charles?
I agree. I was going to say 0.5 too, baby. Me too. I was going to say 0.5. But y'all say I'm so harsh, so I was going to let Angie go first.
Format gets a 1. That's the easiest grade of the night.
Yeah, and it seems like it's a clean sweep. I don't think I need to click through every single one. We even got some zeros if we could go that far. George Cruz Tube. I think we found somebody harsher than Charles. Getting a negative too. I think there was some potential here, but it gave too much advantage to the vets at one point. Like, I don't know. It was always on their advantage, their terms. It just didn't hit. It never really hit the way I think they wanted it to. The vets were too kumbaya, too friendship with each other. That friendship at this point really won out. It's incredible that this season ended near Christmas because that's all about love and friendship. And that's exactly how the season started and where it ended. It was all about friendship. I'm going to give it a 1.
About friendship for a half a second.
To go ahead.
Because I don't understand. Was this acting this season or were they acting last season? Because I don't understand how Josh and Devin have one of the biggest fights over a math equation, and then the very next season they're best friends. Tori and Devin last season were partners throwing each other under the bus, wanting to flip partnerships so bad because they can't stand each other. And then this season, they're crying over one another. Well, Tori was crying, and they're now best friends forever. Were they acting last season or this one? The friendships totally threw me off this season.
It took that one vacation. They took one little boat trip. It was Tori, Devin, and Josh. And they became besties.
I can understand saying, okay, we're going to now work together.
But not besties.
I'm
Right.
not about to cry over you. I was so like confused. That's all I want to say. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but the friendships this season really threw me off.
Let's
Really.
just say everybody had fun at Turks and Caicos this off season because it seemed like everybody was just hanging out with everybody. I think the whole Devin and Tori not liking each other was for sure play last season because they knew each other for a while doing Are You
Hmm.
the One and everything. Not, maybe they weren't on the same seasons. I think they were on one spinoff of Are You the One together, but it was hard to the way that Devin picked Tori from Corey that it was kind of hard. Like, why would you pick your enemy if you didn't care for them and they won a daily challenge because of communication? So I think that was all for play, but the Devin and Josh thing was unbearable this season, in my opinion. And it led to a very predictable season. All right. I think we all got out of the format. Let's go into the daily challenges. And we had a total of a lot of daily challenges. 1, 2, 3. I mean, it's the same amount of episodes, right? 18, 17, 16? Around that. We had a lot of daily challenges. What were some of your favorites? What stuck out to you? What were some of your not so favorites? And what did we feel? Were they creative? Did they lean too heavy with the spy theme? Did they not make sense? Um, Charles, would you like to kick things off?
Let's do it. So my favorite daily, I think, this season was the one where Anissa got injured. The one where they had to jump over the wall, pull the rope. They had to also do the remember the number and run it to their partner, and then the puzzle. I love challenges that remind me of CrossFit Games. Like I'm a CrossFit Games fanatic, and any of those competitions where it's endurance, strength, and strategy puzzle, I love those. Those are the ones we need to keep. And yeah, that was my favorite.
I
All
agree.
right.
I like the daily challenges that TJ called his little mini final. And I also like the challenges that look like challenges. Like I enjoyed when they jumped off a cliff and had to swim in that wavy water to grant whatever they had. And I believe that's when they had to ride on the back of a jet ski. And I like the challenge where they introduced me to those underwater jet skis because that looks fun. And I'm definitely going to try that on my next vacation. So I like those where the challenge is fun and it requires some kind of strength. I don't mind a puzzle every once in a while, but to me, this season was very puzzle heavy and knockout heavy, where like you have to do something to knock another team out. Oh yeah, that was the one where Tommy lost his pants. I did enjoy that challenge.
Yeah, that was a good one. I have to agree with Charles that the best one that was in this season was not Dive Bomb, the Minefield, where Burn and CT won. Anissa was eliminated because of her DQ. Um, I'm gonna be honest. I'm looking at all of these, and some of them I can't even really remember. I watched all these episodes like 3 times. I'm telling you, I watched more of these episodes per week than I have like the past few seasons. So, Hell Heist was decent, but it got old pretty quickly after like the first couple of rounds. It kind of was like, all right, we get it. We can just keep on moving on here. The team ones, I think, really were watered down because of the numbers differences. And with,
Mm-hmm.
I think if the teams were always balanced with the same number of people, I think they would have been pretty cool. I think if we had like an even balance, whereas it just seemed like Emerald kept winning and it was not fun or fair. So it kind of wasn't as exciting to watch. I think the flag football one where we got to see people for the 500th episode to actually get tackled, that one had potential, could have been cool, didn't work out because of the numbers game, and it just wasn't great. Dead Drop I think was really fun towards the end with her CT just beasted it out over the water. I thought that was good. And I'll say the Top Gun because I got to wear my flight suit during the episodes. That was my favorite. Not so great ones. There's a lot. is there one that sticks out to you as being the absolute worst? I already can tell the one that I think is the absolute worst. And that is whichever one they were on the car, turning agents. The one that
I
where
was
they were
gonna
on top of
say
the
that.
cars doing the donuts. That one was absolute. I couldn't tell you what they were trying to do. What they were, I couldn't, they were never, they didn't have the GoPro on the helmet in the right area to know like you could see the lock or anything. So when they were like doing the donuts and going back and forth, I was like, I guess just tell me who wins. Like everybody looks the same on top of the car. They're in the same suit. You could tell me that Fessy was going 15 times in a row. I couldn't tell you. You were telling me a lie or a truth. Like that one, I think was the drone one from last season. I couldn't take that one.
I didn't like the car spinning one, and I didn't like when they had to drop bags out of the helicopter and just try to catch them. That wasn't exciting to watch, but I don't like any challenges. We're at season 38 now, MTV. You can afford a clock on the screen. At least let me know, okay, they did it in 2 minutes, so I can see what the other team is. Oh, you got to hurry up. Like that would add some excitement to it. But everyone just doing put together scenes and the time is running somewhere in the back. We really don't know if it's accurate or not.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
Invest
and
in
I
a
agree.
Fear Factor
They didn't
clock.
have trivia or eating challenges this season.
Yeah.
Did they do trivia? Or am I thinking of All Stars? They didn't. Trivia is what we look forward to. Like the way TJ enjoys punishing them and dropping them into the water. I enjoy watching that. Trivia is my favorite episode. And I like to watch them eat disgusting things to see who can do it and who won't.
So they took eating out of the final?
Right. We ain't got to the final yet. I'll save
it. Charles, what would you say were some bad ones or your absolute least favorite?
To be honest, I'm gonna have to agree with you. Anything that has to do with the cars, because with the cars they have to be so like careful. That it's just very repetitive. A lot of them I've like purposely erased them out of my mind. So I do agree that one that they were on top of the cars holding hands, that was whack. It was like, okay, just get to the elimination already. Who won?
Yeah. Towards the end, I thought that they were doing some decent ones. The $1 Million Heist was all right. I only liked that one because Ruby was so close. It was really close. Like that one was actually like Ruby could have won if they would have.
That one. We did speak about that a couple days ago.
And it was exciting just seeing all $1 million and $1 bills, and that one was at least exciting to watch.
I would say Boom Raiders was fun because they were smashing each other, and Tori was taking it very, very seriously, which I have to give it up for Tori for actually wanting to win for her team, because she could have easily been I want Emerald to win. Who cares? Like, I don't care about Ruby, like, and not yell, not try to smash Kaycee down in the pits or anything. Like that could have been super boring. It almost was, but I give it up for Tori for trying to make that pretty decently. And Submerged was that was the Top Gun one. I wish they would just have like parentheses on the challenge Wikia site so that they could be like Top Gun.
We know which one. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially for as long as the season was.
Maybe this is controversial to say, but I'm liking the dailies on All Stars 2 more than I'm liking the ones from 37. Maybe it's just me, or
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, well, first of all, I think All Stars is doing everything correct. All Stars can't do anything wrong in my eyes. They just had a big twist in their format. And we just talked about how I never really liked it, but I think I just contradicted myself because I actually really like that one. We're going to see how it all plays out, but All Stars is doing great, and All Stars 3 is looking pretty decent as well, at least with the casting wise for some of the cast. Everybody's agreeing with you, Charles. You're mopping up the floor with agreements from everybody.
All Stars 2 is killing it.
I agree. All Stars 2 is giving us the challenge that we love. This is what we love to see. We love to see everyone want the money. I love to see a divided house because Now it all depends on who wins this daily. Is the Four Horsemen, or is it Darrell and his group? Like All Stars 2 is giving me everything I love for a competition show.
Yes. And does anybody remember the 500th episode? Me neither. Yeah, that was probably one of the worst, most disappointing episodes of the season, sad to say, was that 500th episode.
That should have been the trivia episode. Like, if we're going to celebrate 500 episodes, that should have been the trivia one where we dig into 500 episodes.
And that's the thing is, like, I totally understand. And I even thought of it myself, where I was like, there's a lot of international players coming in. Maybe it's unfair to know what they know in pop culture or challenge trivia or anything. But if they were in teams, then they could help each other out. And maybe they could do a sort of like trivia challenge within the teams to where it could be more balanced. So I'm not going to let the challenge 37 get off that easy, not having a trivia challenge or an eating challenge, because you could have had it. If you really put your mind to it, you could have done whatever you really wanted. All right. So let's get into rating and ranking these daily challenges. Again, 1 through 5. 1, these daily challenges were terrible. I didn't like any of them. Or 5, these were perfect. They were awesome. I don't think I've ever gotten anything a 5 ever in these rankings. I always think you could do something better. And I mean, honestly, you can.
There's always room for improvement.
Exactly. So 1 through 5, I mean, I guess I could start it off. This is the third round. I put you two on the spot to start things off. I talked about liking some of them and then not liking a lot of them. And what's troubling is that half of the dailies on this season were in teams that seemed so unfair and out of whack that I have to deduct points for that. And I think I would say I would have to agree with Chloe here and give it a 2.5. I think 2.5. I liked some of them that they were in pairs. I liked the ones where they were figuring out their cells before the rock dumping into the barrel and seesaw thing to get a diamond. So I think I would say 2.5 at my max. But what do you guys say? Angie?
That was the number in my head because it was right in the middle. And I felt like a 2 is kind of close to a 1. So it was a little bit above a 2. So I'm going to go 2.5 as well because I did enjoy some of the challenges. I would say majority I didn't, but I don't want to grade it too bad. So I'm going to say 2.5.
All right, Charles.
Well, I can't agree with you guys. I'll definitely give it a 1.65. That would be my grade. I did a lot of fast forwarding this season. I did a lot of fast forwarding through those main challenges. The 2 that I really liked were the one that I mentioned and the $1 million heist one that you mentioned. Because it was just like a grind it out, just the fastest person that wants it the most can get it. But like y'all said, the fact that the other team automatically had 3 more players, the other teams really didn't have a chance for like half of the season. So it was just like, okay, we know who's going to win. It got redundant. To me, a 1.65, and that's my final answer. Yeah.
All right. I can go with that. A lot of people are putting 2. Some people put 2.5. I think the 2 and 3 area is where everybody is putting into these daily challenges. I think what really helped the daily challenges and the season in general is the nice location. It was very sunny. It was very nice. It was very bright. Way better than past few seasons where it's very dark, snowy,
cold,
and dreary.
And yes,
the bunker, Big Streezy, you are a little bit ahead of yourself, but we're gonna get into the eliminations right now. Eliminations. We have rope burn, which was the rope on fire. Let's look into some of these names. Back Me Up, which we saw happen in the finals as well. That was the first one. Flipping Agents with the puzzle, and Kells and Tracy lost to Ed and Emmy. Slipping Up with the pole ladder that looked like the one from the ruins. With instead of bamboo, it was like metal poles. And Rage Cage which was this year's variants of Hall Brawl, and Bombs Away, Pole Wrestle, Vault Escape, Burning Bridges, Rocket Run. What were your thoughts on the eliminations this season? How gripping were they on a week-to-week basis? Were there some that were good, some that were bad? What do you say, Charles?
So it definitely gave me some good moments, some bad moments. Definitely for me, the eliminations were the best parts of the episodes. So that was what I was looking forward to. I don't know about you guys, but the eliminations were king this season. I like the elimination between Emmy and Big T. We talked about it. I was rooting for Big T. The fact that they had the endurance, they had to get in that water real quick, and they had to do a puzzle. I like multi-element competitions. That was one of my favorite ones off the top of my head. What else? Oh, what I didn't like, the one where I guess they were back to back, where we had Michaela, Corey L, Michelle.
Oh
It
yeah.
should have just been man on man, woman on woman. It shouldn't have been the way it was, because if we would have got Michaela versus Michelle, Michaela would have stayed. I would have preferred it that way. I think Corey L would have stayed anyways. I would have preferred it that way too. So, it was some really good ones, and so a little bit of format change for that one.
Yeah, I'll just say it right now. If this would have been solo matches from the beginning, that would have been awesome. I'm going to say right now, that would have really, I think, swapped up the game a ton, to where most of this was a solo season. You got a solo vote. If you won, you get to pick whatever partner you wanted. It didn't make sense why, especially when the agency got to pick two people out of random or whoever they wanted, and those two players were just automatically paired together to have to face off against each other, whether they liked each other, whether they even talked to each other prior to that. To me, it would have been so nice to have the twist being, oh, we're just going to be solos now. Again, that would help CT, but I think that would have really helped the eliminations stick out a little bit more, instead of like Kel's being partnered up with Tracy and it being a really poor decision to have that going on. And I think Kel's could have really lasted longer in this game, but it helped Corey and Bettina being partnered up with each other, as I don't know too many other players being able to help either those players out the way that they did. Like, they were able to really come back, which was awesome. Angie, what do you think about the eliminations this season of the challenge?
I agree. The eliminations were the best parts of the episodes for me. The eliminations to me were better than many of the daily challenges. So I enjoyed the eliminations. I also agree with you. I wish the eliminations would have been solo. Like, if we're gonna mini miny mo the people into elimination, then let it be girls versus girls, boys versus boys. And then you could still pick your partner and do whatever you're gonna do. That would have helped a lot of people. One of my favorite eliminations was the Corey, Tina, Amber B, and gosh, Jeremiah. I enjoyed that elimination because I love a good comeback, and I love, like, it wasn't just blown out of the water. Like, Corey and Bettina really came back on that one, and that one looked so hard. I did enjoy the Josh and Kyle elimination. That one looked really hard, a lot of endurance, climbing, jumping. So a lot of these eliminations were great. We already spoke on the format. That aside, I enjoyed the eliminations. The only one I really didn't like is the one they gave to Devin, all of those puzzles. That was a setup for me.
Yeah, that one was tough. I will say that when we got to some of the players that left, and then it had to be solo eliminations, like the Burner versus Tatcha, Logan versus Gabo, Emmy versus Esther. Like, those were, I think, a lot more gripping than the ones that were paired up with each other. Besides the Bettina and Corey elimination win and Jeremiah versus Priscilla win, towards the end when they were about to swap into the team format. I thought those two were the best. When we get to the actual solo eliminations, because that's when they were in teams, this is where I felt like the season sort of lacked in a way. I wasn't a huge fan of Seek and Destroy, the one that Ashley beat Priscilla with or in, because of the tire, find the tire. The pole wrestle was good. What was the one? Bombs Away was my least favorite elimination, and that was Emmy versus Bettina with the battering ram and the 5 targets.
Yeah.
I think everybody said in the aftermath that elimination was like 2 minutes, that it took Emmy 2 swings for each target and it was over, yet they stretched that elimination out for like 10 minutes with 1,001 confessionals in there. That one is by far my least favorite. And then Vault Escape was good. Burning Bridges was good with Kyle and Josh, but everything else I think was pretty lackluster in the solo elimination wise. Yeah, I mean, what do we think of? Do we give MTV and the challenge credit this season at least for having most of the eliminations different from each other, whereas last season all the eliminations basically were doubled with some slight variance? Like, which one would you choose, or which one do you think played out better, or do you think it's unfair to compare because of the different cast, the different gameplay, the different format? What do you guys think about that?
I like the difference. I like it being different all the time. But I also don't like when you can feel that maybe production has multiple setups ready depending on who gets picked. For instance, like you were saying, when we was like, oh, soon as Devin touches that floor, it's going to be a puzzle. Just feeling like that as an audience member, whether or not that's true or not, it just feels like, I don't know.
I 100% agree. I always side-eye production. I've always said whenever Fessy hits the ground, it's going to be a hall brawl. Whenever Devin is down there, there's going to be a puzzle. Same thing for Kaycee. I always say if Kaycee goes down there, it's going to be a hall brawl. Now, this was a season, a lot of the people didn't even have to touch the ground. But for the most part, I agree with you, Charles. I do think production has at least 2 setups in the back, and depending on who gets called down, that's what they put on the floor. But at least it was a variation. I did not like last season where, what was it, 6 hall brawls? Everything was a hall brawl. And none of them were exciting. None of them were even exciting.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I don't think any of them were exciting. I think all of them were pretty much blowouts.
Amber B went up against like 2 small girls.
Right.
Excuse me.
Well, and then Fessy went up against 2 smaller guys too. So, and tried to injure one and then injured another. So it was like, it was called on injury. All right. So does anybody have anything else to say about any of the eliminations? Anything else before we get to grades and ratings?
Eliminations.
Are we sad that we didn't get to see any of? Is there an elimination that you missed seeing this season? Like maybe a classic hall brawl, not so fast, anything like that?
There were just matchups I wanted to. I wanted a Berna Ashley brawl. I wanted to see Tori and Kaycee clash, or Tori and Emmy. I want chicks that can go. Like, I want stronger female competitors. That's just, I hate when when you see the female matchup, you already know who's going to win most of the time. Well, for this season in particular. And it's like, okay, let's get to the guys part.
I do wish that what Sunshine just said. I would have loved to see Amanda pick Nani. When did her and Nani become such close friends? I don't know, but I would have loved for Amanda. Oh, but we already kind of discussed the Amanda situation, so I understand. But I would have still loved to see it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's another thing. Like hearing some of the back stuff. Like I'll say that I love when contestants just like let it all out and just drop the tea. And there's some moments in the Challenge Official podcast where somebody's like, "Oh, this is what they said on the podcast." I'm like, really? The challenge just let that go? Like Tori is just saying like, "Oh, this person had to leave," or "This person did this," and it's like, yeah, but that wasn't shown. or did they really want that out there on their own podcast? They must not really listen in to their own podcast,
They
which
don't think
says a
they
whole lot. So to me, it was like, that is so disappointing to hear like, oh, this person had to leave just because of filming taking too long, or, oh, this person should have been DQ'd for throwing glass, but they weren't. And everybody's shocked why they weren't, which they should have been. And I wish they would have been. Josh,
threw glass. Josh?
What? Josh threw glass during the Fessy fight. I guess he threw glass, and he threw a couple of glasses, I heard, and somebody said he threw a glass at Fessy or something, and it could have cut him, or it did cut him, something like that.
No, I ain't hear about that one.
I didn't hear that.
I
thought it was Esther. I knew Esther threw a drink on Amber B, but I didn't know anybody threw glass.
Yeah, it was. I heard that Josh threw glass, and that's why everybody was surprised that Josh wasn't the one being sent out with Fessy, because they thought maybe Fessy just had the push in the face, but Josh actually could have hurt somebody with the glass he threw. Oh, here we go. Somebody who knows.
Well, since Tori and Anissa are spilling so much tea, where is the Ashley tea? We need to go ahead and spill what happened with Ashley, since y'all want to tell everything else. Tell us what we really want to know, baby. Tell us what Ashley did. That's what we want to know.
Well, yeah, no, it's frustrating to hear some of that stuff back, but and there was some turtleneck.
Wow. I guess I didn't watch. I might have to watch that scene again.
We all missed it. Maybe we all just didn't pay enough attention to Fessy. Like when he's on the screen, we just kind of tune out. Our eyes just tune out to him.
Can we be honest? When that fight was going down, I didn't think anybody was getting sent home. Like I thought Esther was going home, because I was like, okay, throwing a drink in somebody's face is assault. Because whatever he did to Josh's face, he barely connected with him. He did not really hit Josh. That barely even connected. So I was shocked. I didn't think Fessy was going home.
I knew Fessy was going home because of what happened in Dirty 30, and we're 7 seasons past that. And all Nelson did was push Derek's face, and he was instantly sent home for that. So once I knew that Fessy did it, I was like, okay, he's definitely being sent home. It's just if Josh is going to be sent home, which he should have. I mean, if he's throwing glass around, cutting people and possibly cutting people, just send him home too. Like he's also the one that's starting stuff with a lot of people. Just send him home. I'm not going to cry about it. Like,
I'm definitely not going to cry about it.
All right. We went off on a tangent. Let's rate the or give a grade to the eliminations 1 through 5. 5 being these eliminations were great. 1, these eliminations ain't it. No, thank you. Try next time. The challenge. And we're going to start the rotation back. Let's go with Angie. What would you rate these elimination games from this season?
I actually like the eliminations this season, so I'm going to go a 3.5. I would love to see some of them come back. I enjoy when they do repeat, so I'm going to give it a 3.5. The eliminations kept my attention, so they got something right.
All right, Charles?
I'll give it a solid 3. I'm just going to give it a 3, put it in the 3 group, and yeah.
Yeah, I think the games themselves, I would give a solid 3.5. I think the matchups could have been better in some of the cases, but overall, I did enjoy the lair the most out of everything that happened this season, or what was going on this season. And then you had those sweet spot episodes where you were like, oh, that elimination was pretty good. And the daily challenge was pretty good. So I would give it a 3.5. I think it was the strongest of what they brought to the season. And like I said, there were some eliminations where I thought I wasn't going to like them at all, like Kyle versus Josh. And that was a very surprising, tough elimination that I really enjoyed for the most part. All right. I think we're up to the final. And
Okay.
we don't have that much to talk about the final, right? We all love the final, just as we liked everything else. No, let's talk about the final. I think if everybody here who watched my Tiny Table Talk knows exactly how I feel, at least about the format and how everything went down. I mean, we talked about it a little bit this past Thursday on Angie's channel, Kiss My Cheeks TV, about everything that went down. But let's just talk about it. The final starts off solo-wise after a night of eliminations. It starts off solo-wise for 3 checkpoints. Then everybody's putting into teams. Then they run the whole first day in teams. About 85 to 90% of the final is run in teams, I would say. And then there's an elimination after a very tame sleeping portion. And then everybody's put into pairs for one last hike up a mountain to then open up a vault. What did we think about the finals, the format, the content, the checkpoints? Let's start with Charles, because I feel like I know where Angie's going to be going with this and all of the puzzle talk that we're going to be talking about very soon. Charles, what do you think about these finals overall?
Going into the final, I already knew if it was paired that whichever woman got CT, congratulations, you were going to win $500,000. But with that to the side, I do not like the stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start of the final. And the fact that this final just felt like a puzzle to another puzzle. Go to sleep, wake up, let's go swim a little bit, run up the hill, down the hill, puzzle to get into the vault, and you win. Wasn't my favorite. Yeah, that last minute switch where the winners of the elimination could just pick anybody. Did not like that. So, yeah. That's how I feel.
My favorite part was Nelson saying, "Why can't we have one long square?" which is a rectangle. That is a rectangle. I applaud him for trying at least, because you never know unless you ask. And no, you can't do that.
That comment is everything.
All right, Angie, what do you think about the finals?
I thought it was one of the worst finals ever. I hated it. I never seen so many puzzles in my life. Where was the endurance? Where was the running? Where was the eating? I mean, I understand a puzzle every once in a while, but you got so many breaks. Where was the swimming? I've never seen a final where you got a cheat code with an underwater jet ski for the swimming. It kind of was like, we're just doing this to get to the battle of whatever that little purge elimination was. And then we're just doing this to run up a mountain, grab a code, and come back. It was nothing exciting about the final. I hated it. There was a comment before that I liked. I wish that would have been good. Maybe if they would have did a team battle instead of whoever loses has to battle within the partners. But this was awful. And if we're going to do start and stop, start and stop, start and stop, I agree with a comment I saw a while ago. It should be like All Stars 1, where you get points for each section and then make everyone have a different partner for each section. It was very lackluster. And at least it's over with now. I mean, we already called the winners at the beginning of the season, and so we just got to see it come through.
Yeah. so I'm not going to get as heated as I did in my previous video, but for the finals, it came down to two pivotal points, and that was the checkpoint 3 where the teams were formed and then the elimination. And essentially the whole day one was just if you're going to be in the elimination or not. It was pretty disappointing that the format led to an elimination that I'm going to be honest, I wasn't into the whole Kaycee versus Nani thing, because I was sitting there going like, well, she's just off to the side, right? And you're going to see her after you get up and down this mountain. You're going to go home on the same plane with each other. Like, it's not like you're gone forever.
Mhm.
She's leaving. You won't see her for another 30 days or something. Like, we're all in this together. We all know that you're going to be with each other the whole time. But on top of that, it was just like, why are the players now? No, I'm not even going to say that. Why would the players who lost day one have the power and the advantage, whereas the team that won, who should be considered the agency, if we're going with wanting to keep up with the theme, the team who won, the purple team, should have been the agency and had a shot to figure out some pairings with each other, with the other players who are up since they won the elimination. I understand that throughout the season, the people who win the elimination have the power to choose, but the agency had all the power really in the game leading up to this point. So I don't really understand why they swapped it up here to be that way. Can you think of a reason why they would want the players in the elimination to have the advantage? Do you think it was that if they were down and out the whole time that they would want to give them at least a shot of winning, instead of what happened last season where Amber and CT kind of took this thing off the rails and nobody was even close to them at the end? But that doesn't make any sense either, because we were stopping and starting. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I kind of mentioned when we spoke a couple days ago that throughout the season, the person that won the elimination has already been picking their new partner. So it was a kind of a continuation of what they were doing during the season. But now in the final, I'm guessing it. I don't know if it wouldn't have really mattered if it was different people. But the fact that it was Kaycee and she's like the strongest woman there, it kind of seemed unfair and unbalanced, because we end the show with the best woman with the best guy. How she got him, yeah, it was at the very last minute, and it was just like picking him because she was in an elimination. But I think that's what's rubbing people the wrong way, is the fact that it was actually Kaycee that got to pick CT. And because we already know Kaycee's the best girl there, so they become just the best team, period. Right. What if Nani, let's say if it was like Nani versus Big T in that moment. We know Big T wasn't there, and then Nani wins and Nani picks CT. We don't know if Nani would have ruined CT's game. That would have been a different show. But the fact that Kaycee is such a great partner, she's that girl. I keep telling y'all, because she's dependable in a team setting, that she didn't slack off. When she got with CT, she held her own and they won.
I have one thing to add. I'm sorry for going off camera. My dog wanted out and he was getting ready to start barking, so I had to let him out of the room. But one thing about that final, when you brought up Kaycee, the fact that she was doing the same type of final that she did last year that ruined her knee, that was the only part that had me like on edge, because I was like, I was rooting for her, like, please, Kaycee, don't twist your knee again. Like, be careful, girl. But I do agree. It seems like you're giving the underdog an opportunity. And if it wasn't, let's play devil's advocate, if it wasn't Kaycee and Kyle sitting right there, would they really have let Big T and say maybe a Devin pick their partner and ruin somebody's game?
That would have been good TV. If Big T would have picked CT, that would have been a full circle moment, and it would have been great for TV. But would she be able to carry her weight like
no
Kaycee? Yeah.
Big T last season couldn't even run that half a mile with Anissa, so she would have been out of breath. But now he wants to come back in the room. He's gonna aggravate me. It's the dog scratching at the door.
So I think it is the reason why well, first of all, anyone if Nani was able to win or told Kaycee to throw it and pick CT and CT somehow lost this season, I think this would have been up in riot. I think a lot of
It would
people
have
would be
been.
way more frustrated than it is. And I saw this comment, and we're not trying to discredit Kaycee at all. She's a good competitor. She is very athletic. But when it comes down to these finals, we want to see fair. And I think we're critiquing more of the format than what the results were, because we can't take anything away from Kaycee. Kaycee is always going to be a champ. She got the win. She crossed the finish line. She learned her digits for the safe.
she's
They got it
good.
open first. She won fair and square with the format and the rules that were set up by production. So there's no taking anything away from Kaycee, not to discredit her. She is always
And
going
we
to be
would
one of the
never
strongest females in
we
the
would
game.
never discredit KC. We all called her as our winner pick from the
Right.
beginning of the season. So we're definitely not discrediting her. We're just saying
Right.
we didn't think that part of the format of the final was fair.
Was fair, right? Yeah, Kaycee is my girl, but we all knew she was the best girl there. That's why Drew picked her first in the draft. So, yeah, we love Kaycee.
Yeah, well, that's Reddit for you.
They discredit
I don't venture too much in
everything on
Reddit.
Right.
I don't venture too much into Reddit. Let's just say that I used to do in college when I had so much time on my hands not paying attention to professors, but I can't do that nowadays. I don't want to do it nowadays. But yeah, no, it's difficult when you're just thinking back from these finals, and it's like hindsight, and you kind of like think back to what did I just watch? If we break this down, which I don't think a lot of casual fans are breaking it down, but when you think about this in the back end, you're thinking, okay, what was the point of getting in the helicopter first, finishing that puzzle first? What was the point of finishing the wire puzzle first to get on a team where if you come in 10 seconds behind the first place team or 2 hours behind the second place team, that if I went to elimination, possibly I could get a shot of picking who I want to be partnered up with that could essentially get me possibly to a win. I mean, it just seems like winning was a disadvantage in this final, which is frustrating because the purple team did show up and they shelled out this whole time, winning in all the puzzles. CT and Tori, who were in the top 2 and top 3 of the puzzles every single time, were just standing there in a line waiting for Kaycee and Kyle, who were behind them the whole time in day 1, pick who they wanted to be partnered up with. I don't know. It just seemed weird.
Well, let's play devil's advocate for a second. If, let's say, Nelson's team won, and it would have been, let's say, CT versus Devin versus Tori and Emmy. And out of that scenario, we're going to assume CT is pushing Devin off of that thing. Tori and Emmy would have been very interesting to see.
That would
But
be good.
who do you think, like, CT would have still picked KC if he would have won? Because he's not picking Nani. Like, if CT would have had to pick a partner, so we would have still came to the same outcome regardless.
They should have just made them be partners. Kaycee and what is his name?
Kyle.
Kaycee and Kyle should have just been now partners. It shouldn't have been no choice. They should have just been partners now. And to be honest, you can't sleep on either of them. Kyle's good.
Right.
He's not smart.
Kyle's good.
But he's good. He's a workhorse. And him with Kaycee, they may have shot some people, because then would that would have left Tori with Devin.
Well, I also read a comment saying that if the purple team lost, then CT would have been the same outcome, but TJ would have asked if the two players that won the elimination on purple team if they want to be partnered up with each other. And no matter what the scenario was, I think they would have been partnered up with each other, whether it was Emmy who won her 5th elimination on the season against Tori, or Tori pulling it out against Emmy. I think regardless, CT would be like, yeah, I want to work with my purple teammate because we just ran the full day. We did really well together. And I think that would have been a bit more fair in the grand scheme of things. So I don't know.
I don't know, Drew. I don't. If it's Tori, yes. If it's Emmy,
no.
I don't think he wants Emmy as his individual partner. I don't think so.
I think he would, from what happened last season with being paired up with a rookie who can run, and Emmy never stopped. And if there was a point where CT said, jump in the water, because there was points where she was like, what do I do? And he's just like, get in the water. Let's go. Like, and she remembered her digits, even though Devin wouldn't let her say a single digit at the keypad because he had to make it a point for his ego that if I'm coming in third, I'm doing it all by myself. I can do it all by myself. But I don't know. I think he would have, because of their season arc with each other, Uncle CT. I think it would have been so crushing if CT just looked at Emmy and went, no, thank you, kind of thing. But I could see him not wanting to be partnered up with her, but I think he would have because of their rapport with each other. Well, that wasn't the question. I didn't say that she won. We can't discredit her win, but yes, she was bad solo wise during the final.
They want you to drag Kaycee so bad.
When it comes to puzzles, Kaycee is not the one who you want to be partners with. So
right. And that's the thing. I want this to be shown to everybody. Everybody has their flaws and weaknesses. Maybe not so much with CT, but everybody has their flaws and weaknesses. And if you see a puzzle down on the elimination floor, don't be afraid to call Kaycee down unless she starts getting on Sudoku.com or doing flash games or something to up her puzzle game. Because come on now, if there's 3 puzzles in there and you are just slightly good at puzzles or done some work, call her down. Don't be worried about her. Don't be scared about her. Really put her feet to the fire, because if she doesn't have to go into elimination, she won't, because of how friendly everybody is to her and how everybody's afraid of her. But don't be afraid to call people down if you think that you can get them on some weakness or anything, because that's what you got to do. This should be a lesson learned to the competitors on if you want to take somebody out because you don't want to run the finals with them, or they're too much of a threat that you would never be able to win with them in the finals. If you can't beat CT in the game during the season, you ain't going to beat him in the finals. So,
but CT has worked on his weaknesses, because he's definitely had them. Like, first of all, his attitude, his anger was his first weakness. He was like the ticking time bomb of the show. And then he got out of shape. So then his endurance was his crutch at one point. Now he's been working out, but he's still not quick. So if he had to go one-on-one with like Corey in a foot race, he would lose. So,
but he won 2 finals with a dad bod.
Yeah, but that's because they keep start, stop. CT, I don't think if it's just run, I don't think he would be able to beat like a Nelson or even a Kyle. I think Kyle's endurance is better than CT.
Who took CT out during the other seasons? Jay in Total Madness took him out. CT underestimated CT. No, not at all. Final Reckoning, I think it was a purge. That season was crazy, because if you just lost and somebody had the power, they would just send you out into the redemption house. And then if you didn't get picked, you didn't come back in. That was
and he was partnered with Veronica. That was an awful partner to have.
CT took himself out when he punched a boy in the face. So CT has his spots.
Yeah. From there though, he hasn't lost really many eliminations, because he came back in 29 and won. 30, he made it to the finals. 31, he wasn't there. 32 was a purge, like we were talking about. 33, he lost to JP and Kyle. in the ring
Yeah,
because he got called out,
that
and it was 2-on-1 at that point. And then it was 34. He made it to the finals, won 35, Jay, and then 36 and 37 he won. So
Yeah, but after
he's
the backpack, when was the backpack season when he backpacked Bananas?
Well, that was a long time
20.
ago. But he wasn't
Right.
in the game.
After
He was
that,
a mercenary.
after that moment, people did not want to go one-on-one with CT because they already idolized Bananas. Like Bananas is the franchise. He is the Michael Jordan of the show, franchise player. Once CT did what he did, nobody wants to see CT in elimination. So he has that factor of being feared and respected, I guess you would say in the same breath, by his cast members.
But nobody wants to see CT in elimination. But now, the way they're casting the shows, people are scared to even throw him into elimination. Like, at least in the past seasons when you had Bananas, West, and you had a lot of heavy hitters on one season, they aren't scared to vote CT in. But now you're putting a lot of average hitters in the one heavy hitter of CT. So who's going to have the balls to put him in there? Like, they wouldn't even say his name.
And that's the thing is, like, if there were so many rookies who didn't know what the show was, even, and I'm sure they didn't want to go up against CT, but there was some people that weren't even scared to go up against CT. Like, why JP called him out in War of the Worlds, he knew that CT is a legend, and that's why he called him down. He wanted to go up against the legend. He wanted to be taken out by a legend if he was going to go home anyways. And I feel like that's where the strategy of the vets this season kind of lacked, because they could have called down CT when they could call him down and give him any partner like Bettina, who there's a huge size difference between the two. So, and I don't think they talked to each other once during the whole season. So you put them two together going up against Kells, and hopefully it's like a physical elimination or something, then maybe you could take him out or take a shot at least at him. But again, it was the Vet Alliance. It was complacency. It was just people wanting to make it as far as they could. And that's what happened. It was just, we never had anything.
They did have some size this season, though. It's just
they did.
They just didn't put the puzzle pieces right, because we had Corey there, we had Fessy there, we had Kales there, we had even a Corey L and a Logan in the right position. A Corey L and a Logan could beat CT.
With
CT's
the right
not
elimination and partnership, CT could have easily been eliminated.
Right.
Or if we had, say, the one from last season where you have either Nelson or Corey going up against him in some sort of sprint or anything like that, I think you can get CT.
Justice for Darrell. Darrell had no chance.
Right. That was a good one too.
All right. We never gave a rating to the finals. What are we going to give the ratings out of a rating of 5? 5 being this is the best final, to 1 being this is the worst final. What rating would you give the Challenge 37 by Lies and Allies final? What would we give it?
I would give it a 2.25. That's my rating for the final. A 2.5 is average. It gives me right below, because I didn't like that switch up at the end with the partners. So a 2.25 is mine.
Finally, Charles has a grade nicer than mine, because I'm just giving it a 1.5. Like, 1 is absolutely the worst. So you get at least a 0.5 extra, because I can't remember all the finals. So it might be one out there worse than this one. But from what I can recall, it's the worst. So a 1.5 for me.
So I think content-wise and even the competition in the final was decent. Like, it was beautiful to watch. It was nice for them to walk and do their thing and kind of like see them interact with each other. And even Nelson was keeping up with CT in those solo portions. So I thought that there was potential here. But when you get to the final, where it was like the elimination point, like the whole day 2 / I don't know, we want to just call it like it wasn't even like a full day. It was like a quarter of a day, an eighth of a day, whatever we want to call it. I would be surprised if there was nothing cut from these finals. Like I heard that there was like an eating portion and something cut from Total Madness. So it's like these finals seem so rushed at some points that I thought there was something that we were missing. I just can't go over a 2 at that point with knowing the hindsight and then going over it after we know what happened and how everything went. I would have to say I'm going to give it a 1.9. It's close to a 2.
You had the highest.
I had the highest.
Close to a 2, but
Am I getting nice? Am I getting nice? Oh my God.
Are you going to split that 2.25 evenly with some of the other players? I thought that was interesting. Like, why
we didn't even discuss that.
Yeah.
The sharing of the money.
What'd you think of the sharing of the money?
Did that bring your rating down?
Does the sharing of the money count as part of the rating? Because it definitely would bring mine down.
I mean, if you want to, it technically wasn't part of the finals, but if it were part of the finals, where would you drop?
It goes all the way to a 1, all the way to the bottom.
Andy is being mean now.
I hate it. You all know I hated that. How much do you want to give your friends? I don't want to give them nothing. They should have won. How much do you want to give them?
Nelson was gone. So we can't give it a full 5. My boy Nelson was gone. Charles, what do you think about the money share and them giving $200,000 out of their $1 million bank account to everybody?
We know that was too much, baby. Too much. Yeah, like we said, it was probably just in the moment. They were exhausted. They didn't have the calculators like we got, because I told you I'm splitting up 70,000 for all 4 of y'all. Yeah. It was way too much. 200,000?
They should have gave them $500 gift cards like Ashley did. That's what they would have got from me.
Amazon.
I'll give you a little gift card when we get home, but I'm not sharing anything.
I think George Cruz brings up a decent point, and I just wanted to bring it up to the both of you and get your thoughts on it. I personally think that just out of the 30s, I would say that 32 Final Reckonings final was worse than this one. That one was the one day where Hunter fell out of the helicopter, and then they ran for a little bit, and then they had to stand on a pole. And then once that was done, they all ate pizza and had wine. And then they got up to eat a whole bunch of food and then ran to a cave to walk on some rocks.
It must have been bad because I don't remember that. Like, I literally do not
I don't remember, but I remember that's the one where Ashley stole the money from Hunter. It had Paulie and Natalie there. I actually thought Paulie and Natalie won that one, but I guess that was one of those time thing where each one had a time limit and we didn't get to see the time, and they just announced Hunter and Ashley as the winner. That could have been some fake stuff for me, but okay.
Yeah. Oh, Charles, you're getting some shade with how much you're giving everybody out of your $1 million pocket.
They're not getting 200,000. I'm sorry. 70,000 would be my generous offer. And you said $500 gift card, so at least
and
I'm giving them in the thousands.
That's it. To me, it's not my job as a contestant to decide what second and third place should receive. If you say there's $1 million prize and you say I get $1 million if I come in first, then I get $1 million if I come in first. I shouldn't have to now open myself up to, should I give out anything? Because now if I don't give it out, everybody looking at me screw face. And if I give out $200,000, we all looking like, well, how much money you got in the bank at home that you can afford to give away $200,000 to some people you just met on the TV screen? So Angie would give $500 gift cards like Ashley gave her best friend.
That's a great point. That's a great point. I read somewhere that it was like 1,000 if you're a rookie, they get 1,000 per week or something like that, 1,000 per episode. And then if you're a mainstay, like a big name in the game, it's like 80,000 plus just for showing up. So,
yeah, but that all depends on how long you stay. So the girls in the final already getting a thick stipend when they get
Right.
home.
So Emmy, who's at the bottom, she's a rookie. She's already made $19,000. Why am I giving her another 50? And I don't even know you.
yeah. Well, we talked about every single point. Not very high marks to go around. I think the highest we were on were the eliminations, and some of us on the cast. I think Angie and I were the highest on the cast, but everything else was around under 3 and everything. Some were part 2. I don't think that this was the worst season as I'm watching through a lot of the older seasons where they didn't even have eliminations or anything like that. So to me, watching back isn't as thrilling, but a lot of the personalities were bigger, better. A lot of the drama was very dramatic,
Natural.
very natural, actual drama, not about pizza and pushing people's faces and everything.
Yeah.
I would agree with David here that the island was worse in every single aspect.
Yeah, I didn't like the island.
The only good thing about the island, it's only 8 episodes. So you wrap it up in 8 episodes, you're done. It's only 40 minutes per episode. You head out, they build a boat, and you see the 4 people win. That is it.
The island was worse. I forgot about that. But Drew, you said you started watching from season 1 to 23. Where did you find the earlier seasons? Because I can't find those.
So I found a Google Drive at one point, and then when I went to go back into it, because I was looking for season 14, I couldn't find it, and then somebody sent me season 14. But I don't know where. What?
So you got the plug.
I was desperate for season 14 because nobody has season 14. Nothing. There's nowhere. Like, people erased it. But I did find a Google Drive, but then it just, those things fall out. Like, some people will have it, some people won't. I'll try to find another one, and then I'll try to post up a link if I do find another Google Drive. But it happened to me with Endurance. I had an Endurance link hit up with a Google Drive, and then all of a sudden it was just gone one day. I don't know if it's like somebody finds it and hits copyright, or they just decide to delete it or something. I don't know. I don't know how that all works.
I was curious because I'm watching, the Homecoming on the LA Real World Edition.
Mm-hmm.
And they were bringing up that fight between David and Puck, where Puck, I guess, spit in David's face.
Gosh,
and I thought I was a challenge OG. Like, I thought I was down since season 1. But I never recalled David or Puck being on the challenge. So I was like, I need to go back and find that season because I don't remember that one.
It was season 6, Battle of the Sexes, and it was, I think, the first episode that all went down, and it is crazy. Like, I was so furious just watching it because it just made no sense. I hated it so much. It was the same thing that happened in season 4 with Ayanna and why she left. And it was just like, that was so dumb. Like, I don't understand the idea behind everything that happened, why the producers did what they did. It was so dumb. They sent her home, and it was just like ridiculous. It was so dumb.
Yeah, I gotta go back and watch those early ones because either I completely forgot or I didn't start at season 1 like I thought I did.
Yeah. If I can find it, I will send it to you. So that way you can, and I'll have a link. Maybe if I can do some, if I can do like if I'm going to make a Patreon, like I was thinking about, I could do some commentary videos on the sly. Like, I can't do them on YouTube.
Get that coin.
I can't do them on YouTube, but if I could do them on the sly and everybody can keep it quiet, hush, hush. Yeah, we can do maybe an older season rewatch and go through everything and talk about it. But thank you all for being here. Is there anything else you would like to say about Spies, Lies, and Allies before we close this chapter? We're heading into the reunion. Are you excited about the reunion? I want to ask that. I'm not a huge fan of the reunions. The only reunions I like are Real Housewives. The challenge feels like 3-month-old drama. Like they yelled about this stuff when it was hot, and then now it's not going to be hot anymore. Mm-hmm. So to me, I'm not like with the whole Amanda like pulling her hand away from Fessy, even though I know they're still together now. It's like, But what do you guys think about the reunion?
How Fessy and Michelle came about? Like, it's a lot of triangles on the aftermath of this show that I'm curious about. But the reunions for the challenge are a lot of rehearsed answers because they know what questions will be coming their way, what we care to know. So I don't really care about the reunion, but I am interested in seeing Tatcha's dress because she, just from the flash that I saw, I'm like, whoever that is gorgeous, and I got to see what that fashion is all about. So I'm interested in that. I hope they bring Tatcha back. I like Tatcha, and I would like to see more of her.
I do. I don't watch the reunions.
I watch.
I watch, and I will continuously review and recap them. But you know what I'm excited about? Only one part this year. One part, not two. It's not one, and then behind the scenes look like we did with Total Madness. That wasn't that fun and exciting anyways. It is one because we are coming up to the holidays, the new year, and they kind of shut everything down. So you're missing out on 2 parts. So that way you can get new episodes of ridiculousness in the same time slot with messiness at 9 p.m. on Wednesdays. Who's excited for messiness?
Messiness is the food one. I don't think I ever watched that one.
I watched it. It isn't.
It's not good.
It's not good. Well, ridiculous isn't that great, but messiness is worse.
I can't believe ridiculousness is still on TV.
People still doing foolishness on the internet, so.
But
when there's nothing else on TV, I could watch
it on TikTok.
I could watch ridiculousness and laugh.
On and watch it again.
I don't know. You're right. It is all on TikTok.
Do you think? I know we're going off on a little tangent here at the end, but do you think that they could like actually show the same scenes from past episodes and just put them in newer episodes and nobody could tell? Like, I feel like they're at that point where they have like 1,000, 2,000 episodes at this point that they could just reuse some of the same content that they did in episode like in season 4 or 15 or whatever season that they're on back then. Now that there's so many, nobody's gonna be like, oh, I saw that on a previous episode. It's like you couldn't tell.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Rob could be doing the same jokes and we would never know.
So I would rather hear your thoughts on the aftermath. Like, how did y'all feel about the aftermath being a part of the actual? Because the aftermath did a lot of spoiling early on with their comments, with the people they chose to come on. How did y'all feel with that being like the continuation of the episode?
I enjoy Devin. I think she is an excellent host of that show on YouTube. And you know I love the games. I stole a lot of my games from Devin. But I like the aftermath because I like to hear that. And I think the aftermath is what's ruining the reunion because we already know what people think right after the episode. So I like it. I love Devin. Please continue to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I love the aftermath. I love the after show vibe. I love Devin. The only thing is what Debut 8701 is saying here, that there was too much emerald. I did like the in studio feel because I liked the vibe a little bit more than just Zoom. But if we could have a more diversified cast on Zoom, I would just say go to Zoom. It's cheaper, and at the end of the day, it's probably a little bit more difficult to edit at the end of the day. But if we could have Amanda on the show, despite having a family emergency or something, that's why she couldn't be on there. If she could be on the show, and CT that we didn't see at all during the whole season because they left the actual Zoom calls for the international players. If we could have CT on there to talk about when he made certain moves, or Amanda when she was actually in the elimination, despite not being inside the studio, I would like that more.
But if we play devil's advocate, Emerald Team was the one with all the power making the moves the majority of the game. It was too much of them, but what did CT really do? Because he didn't really win too much, and no one was going to throw him in. So it was Emerald really making the moves of the game.
But before they were even split into those 3 teams, they were already putting Emerald on the Aftermath.
They were.
They were revealing too much. Like, we already knew that clique, that inner circle was a group before the Emerald Team became Emerald on TV.
That is true. When you think back on it, that is true.
I will say that live Aftermath special that they did at the beginning gave a lot away. I felt like when they were just like, I think Kyle was talking about like the Vet Alliance, but was trying to like circumvent around it. Devin saying like, oh, well, there was an alliance, a big alliance that nobody knew that was happening. And I think I learned from my past seasons. And it's like, all right, dude, do you make it very far? Like, do you make it to the end? Like, I feel like that's what you're trying to get at here.
I don't know. There was an agreement, because a lot of people said this a lot throughout the game. I just want to run the final with so and so and so. So I want to run the final with so and so and so and so. Do you think they knew they would have the opportunity to split the money, and it was an agreement? Like, if we all make it to the final, we're at least going to give 50,000 to second and third. Because throughout the season, everyone wanted to, like, Emerald just wanted to run the final together. Like, I want to run with Kaycee and Nani. I want to run with Devin. I want to run with Tori. And it kind of seemed like, okay, why do you want to run with these people? Majority of these people are the weakest people around. It kind of seems like maybe there was already a hidden agreement. Like, we're going to protect each other no matter what, and we're going to split the money this way at the end.
I don't think it was I don't think they already knew that they were going to have the power to split the money. Right. I think they wanted to go to the final with the weakest people, so they had the better chance of winning. So I think with Josh and Devin knows that Josh is probably the only person he can beat male wise. So that's why it's like, yes, all the weaklings go together, because that's my best chance. If I go with a CT or even a Nelson and a Kyle, I might lose. So
yeah, and to not knowing if you can steal the money or not, I mean, in seasons past, there have been deals cut with, if you make it to this point, shave me off some money and I'll let you win this elimination. Or if we all make it and somebody takes out Landon, let's all just put our money together and then split it evenly with everybody. I think what really hurt was the quote unquote friendships of the season, because they were so tight with each other from so many seasons past that they were just like, okay, we're going to work with you. Kind of like last season where Devin and CT were on the same side of the house. I mean, when they come into this season, of course, they're going to be working with each other this season as well. So that's why there was this alliance between Sapphire and Emerald. And but I do agree that I think the Aftermath gave a lot away. I don't know. I just want more people on there. Like what George was saying in the comments, they should have had Kells on there or Gabo on when they were eliminated. Like, if they were to diversify their cast a little bit more. But again, when you're in studio and you have the people in there for a certain number of hours or days inside you're not going to be flying everybody into New York City every other week just because they were relevant in one episode, but not in 3 other episodes after this kind of thing. But I don't know. I like the Aftermath. I like the idea. It could just use some work to not make it super. Like last season, wasn't it the Pictionary game that we found out that Kyle and Fessy went to elimination in the hall brawl with each other, and that didn't happen until the very last episode? I think that's what happened.
Maybe. I don't know.
And they didn't cut it. I was like, why didn't they cut that? Because when I finally saw it, I was like, that's weird.
And also, Devin should know better than ask people on episode 1, Aftermath number 1, how do you feel you did at the end of the season? Like overall, how you feel you did? Asking
Right.
that question gave too much away. At that point, we knew that Devin was going to be in the final because he was basically saying this is the
Yeah.
best season he ever had. Like, he did great. And then we got similar answers from Nelson. And then Amanda was like, I feel like I did Mom's proud. So, well, she's in the end. She made it
Yeah.
very far. So just that question alone gave too much away.
Or the live aftermath before an episode was even aired, and they're like, let's talk about these two rookies, Emmy and Emmanuel. What did we think about them? And give them their own little
Right.
segment. And who do you want to hang out with at the end of the day or whatever? And it was a poll to everybody in the audience. And we were like, I don't even know these people. Like, what are you talking
Right.
about? Why am I A or B? I couldn't tell who was who at this point. Like, what are you talking about? So I think that was a huge, like, showing of the hand, like, okay, well, these two players are going very far into the game.
Maybe they'll reel that in next season and keep it to the episode at hand.
Yeah. I also
NDAs?
think that yeah, that's weird.
There's no NDAs at all, like non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah.
They can just
Well, they
talk
have
about
to have
anything,
one because
apparently.
ain't nobody talking about Ashley. So they have one for that Ashley situation. No one is talking about that.
That's true.
Yeah. I also think real quick before we wrap this up, and we've already hit 2 hours. I can't believe it's already been 2 hours. I think editing needs to be sewn up a little bit, maybe tighten up a little bit, maybe give people who aren't necessarily big in the episode or not going to happen until 2 episodes later, give everybody some screen time. I don't know why they don't give one person no screen time, and then all of a sudden you see them like throughout the first part of the episode and you're like, oh, yeah,
They're going home.
they're going home.
Yeah.
They're going to be sent home for sure. Like, I don't know.
Don't
I've
have
always
over
had a problem
30
with
people
editing.
again. And 30
Oh,
is too
no.
many. But definitely don't
Too
have
many.
over 30 people again. Unless you're going to do purges. Like, you have to do purges a couple of times.
To me, 25 is too many.
It's too many people to learn. Especially you have 19 rookies. It's too many new people to learn. I would love to see an Exes 3 or a Rivals 3.
I don't like the exes series because, to be honest, a lot of those people don't really be exes.
No,
This is
they
like
just
somebody
hook
you
up.
hooked up with. Like, ooh,
And
they
it don't even
kissed
be a hookup.
once
It'll
in
be
the
a kiss.
bathroom.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we need some real deep relationships that y'all need to put out there.
Yeah.
Rivals
No, I
would be
agree.
good.
Rivals also fares with the same as the X's sometimes, where it's just like, oh, we had Twitter beef compared to like Adam and CT being partnered up with each other, where CT almost murdered him. So it's kind of like, all right, you're getting either Frank or Johnny Bananas, who hadn't really been on a season with each other up to that point. They just had Twitter beef, or you have CT and Wes, who
And Veronica.
like screamed at each other for hours and hours on a season. I was going to ask, what would be your format if we could do a second format or a third format or a past format? And what do you think of a format that would bring up the ratings? Like, what would get the challenge audience excited? Because I don't think Spies, Lies, and Allies or Double Agents is exciting. But if we were to go back to a well that we've already treaded to that could get both newer fans and older fans excited, what would it be?
It's one that I brought up maybe last season. If we did like a People's Choice season where the cast was chosen ballots online by the fans, we got a whole bunch of options and we got to create our own cast, and that's how people were put on the season. Kind of like an all-stars in a sense, but we get the people get to choose who we want on the show. Not, and that season would have no rookies. It would at least be the second season for everybody, you know? That's what I would want.
I agree with that to a percentage. I don't want to leave it up to the people to get the cast right, because we've learned from all these Big Brother and whenever they do these poll type things, everybody not going to vote and we'll end up with some foolishness. I would love to see a no rookie season, considering that Michaela and Kels would no longer be rookies because they at least did it once. I definitely want to see a free agent style where we don't know what it's going to be that day, or an all individual season, like no teams, no partners. It's girls battling it out with the girls, boys battling it out with the boys, and we're going to run a final.
I agree. I think free agents would be great. Let's just and call it free agents too, and just do like legit free agent style. I also think that new school versus old school would be great if it was season 40. Because if you do this anytime before season 40, you got to top it, and there's no way you could top it. But I think Battle of the Seasons or series,
I like Battle of the Series.
Great. I mean, first of all, 2002 was the first Battle of the Seasons. 2012 was the second Battle of the Seasons. We're coming up on 2022. It's a 10-year cycle. Let's bring in Battle of the Shows. Let's get some challenge ones. Let's get some Love Island teams. Let's get some Survivor teams.
Survivor, Big Brother.
That's gonna cost a lot of money. I don't know how much money MTV has to pay CBS for all their franchise names. The fact that they're gonna be having Big Brother, that's a CBS
part of the same network.
Yeah, Viacom.
It's on loan.
Oh, loan, whatever it is.
Loan.
I don't know.
I mean, they're already using Survivor and what's the other one? Big Brother.
And Love Island.
So, and Love Island.
Yeah, but they don't use it to like as.
Oh,
like,
you mean as an advertising? Oh.
Right, but they don't use it as like Survivor contestants, like promotion, and that's different. That's.
But
like
why would they have to pay for that? That's free advertising. So why would you care?
That's not how CBS would see it. They were like, you gonna make money off our name, MTV? They are all under Viacom. Yes, Viacom is like the parent company.
Yeah,
but still, I don't know.
Well, they don't have to put it on a sweatshirt, but we could just know at home. Those are all the Survivor people. Those are Big Brother people. Like, we already know this when we watch the show. Anyway, they could still be green, yellow, purple. We ain't got to call it out. But
please don't put no more circle people on here. Let Ed be the only one. I don't want nobody on the circle on the challenge.
Definitely nobody from this past season of the circle.
I still haven't watched that final episode. I saw what happened at the second to last, and I had to wait a week to watch the last episode. I'm like, I already know how this is gonna end. I'm done. I don't want to see this. So I was like, I don't even know if my thought came true or not. Like what I think is gonna happen actually happened, but I'm not doing it. I'm not watching it.
Big Brother could dominate. Big Brother and Survivor could dominate the challenge.
Well, they have to have another stream since they're not doing any more real world road rules. You have to get the people from somewhere. Yeah. So you have to call out the show where you're getting them from.
Well, there are people that are original, like they were on Free Agents, or I don't know, that they weren't on a reality show before. Like a Cara. Cara was not on a reality show before coming on Free Agents.
Fresh Meat?
Not Free Agents, on Fresh Meat. Yeah. That's what I meant. Fresh Meat.
Yeah, because some people came through bloodlines and things like that.
Yeah. So there are some MTV original people, you know?
Yeah. Well, we're finding out slowly that you can make someone more athletic who has personality easier than making somebody who is athletic have a personality. And that's what's coming from what I think about Big Brother and some of the other competitors that are coming in with muscle just isn't giving us the level of challenge and real world competitors that we have been known from in the past. But We're coming up on 2 hours and 10 minutes. I don't want to take too much of y'all's time on Sunday night. It's an early work day unless everybody is just chilling and already in Christmas vacation mode. But
Not yet.
I thank you both for hanging out with me tonight and talking about the challenge and rating and reviewing. Thank you to everybody who is in the chat and has stayed, getting to talk about the challenge and listening to us ramble on about all these different branching outs and everything.
Right.
Thank you. Where can they find you if they want to watch more of you and what you guys do outside of being on the Angel Cake Entertainment channel and lives? Angie?
Everything is Kiss My Cheeks TV. That's on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. I do almost all of the competition reality shows like Survivor, Big Brother, and The Challenge. And then I venture into a few drama, messy reality shows like The Real Housewives. I'm doing Selling Tampa now. And I love the love shows. Like I'm waiting for Netflix to come back with Love is Blind. I do Ready to Love. So I like all of the reality, and everything is at Kiss My Cheeks TV. And thank you so much, Drew, for inviting me on. Even though it's been 2 hours and 10 minutes, it never feels like it.
Yeah, I'm serious. When we went 30 minutes, I was like, oh, we'll get it back online. And then all of a sudden, it's 2 hours and 10 minutes later. Charles, where can everybody find you and or your products if they want to check you out?
Yes. Again, thanks for having us, even though like we may be new to some of the people watching, but we talk all the time. Shout out to the trio. You can find me on Instagram at the Charles Warren or on YouTube and TikTok at Charles Warren Online. And you can also find my products, thanks to Drew for promoting the brand this season, at Charles Warren on charleswarrenpresents.com. Girl, I got so many names. charleswarrenpresents.com. Yes, and don't forget, y'all, Drew has his own code. So if you go to the website, make sure you use Angel Cake and get you a vapor rub stick. It's all natural, biodegradable packaging. And yeah, I appreciate you. We had a great time this season. And yeah, always good.
One last thing before we go. Sunshine wanted to ask us, who do we predict wins All-Stars? There's only 7 teams left. I'm sorry if anybody is in spoiler territory, but there's 7 teams left, 14 players left, and it looks like not everybody has to stay in their teams if somebody wins. So it kind of is open for interpretation. Who do you think wins real quick before we leave? Angie?
I don't know who will win. It's a lot of strong, heavy hitters left on All Stars, but I'm rooting for. Is it a Nehemiah win? I would like to see Nehemiah and Melinda win. I enjoy that, but you got Jody and Brad floating around. It's probably going to be them, but I'm rooting for Nehemiah and Darrell. I'm always rooting for Darrell as well, but I like Nehemiah the best so far right now.
Charles, do you have a...
I think if the pairs stay as they are, I think Jody and Brad are the team to beat by far. But I think Darrell is my clear male winner. And I would say Jody is my clear female winner. Because if they do get to the final and somehow it's like, individual, every man for themselves.
Where it's like last year.
Right. Mm-hmm. I do see, even though I love Ayanna, I love her, but she's not going to run a final. So I would say Jody and Darrell.
It's tough. I'm going to tell you right now, All-Stars is tough to watch because there's players that I just love. I mean, there's nobody that I legit root against, even with a 2 alliances in the house warring against each other. I like players on both sides. And then you have someone like Melinda, who I don't think got a lot of screen time during her seasons because of the whole Danny thing and her not having a good elimination record, so everybody discredits her, and then all of a sudden she comes in and has a great storyline, and you just sit there go like, I'm rooting for Melinda. Please go far. So for sure, I got John A all day. The endurance queen. I for some reason I can never discount Darrell. Yes, he lost against Yes, but he came in second place. And Yes isn't here last time I checked. So Darrell is going to be one to beat. Nehemiah looks like he's playing a really tough, strong game. And I think Jody has just been a powerhouse. So I think Jody and John A are my top two. And then you have Darrell and Nehemiah, who are just powerhouses, I think. But it's going to come down to intensity. And Laterian had some intensity in this past episode.
You can't count him out either. If he makes it to a final, we don't know what he may do.
Just don't let there be a poll there, or you're not going to win. You're not going to win.
Let's see a Laterian versus Kyle pole wrestle, since Kyle is supposed to be the king of the pole wrestle.
That's good. I like the okay, production. I hear you.
Hey, if we could do a new school versus old school, they got to make it happen. If we have like both teams having to put somebody into elimination, kind of like a Ruins or something, and we have Laterian going up against Kyle, oh my gosh, that would be insane. Insane in the membrane.
If they ever did a new school versus old school, I think old school crushes these new players.
If they had where they had big groups like that, it would be great if they knew the elimination beforehand and the team got to choose who they wanted to throw in from their team, knowing that, you would get them back. So you wouldn't want to try to lose numbers. You would more so want to put your best player in to get them back so your team is good overall, if it's better with numbers. So that I would like that, yeah. If they knew the elimination beforehand so they could strategize some type of way.
Yeah. I'm all for it. But it's got to be season 40. And it's got to be a very quick filming
and
session, because All Stars is always going to be quick. And you can't have 3 to 4 months of these players going, or they're going to start dropping because they actually got families and
they have
stuff going on outside.
Things like that, yeah.
But that is it.
Production,
okay, we're done. We're gonna cap it off here. But I know we're coming up on the off season, and I'm not known for doing a ton of lives, but I want to do more lives during the off season. So this isn't the last time you'll see Angie and Charles on the channel until the next challenge season. That's not going to happen. We're going to do more lives in the future, definitely in the off season. If not in January, because I want to do a few. I want to do like 2 a month. So if not in January, we'll figure out something for February for sure. Make sure we're all locked in with schedules. And somebody was talking about calling in. People can call in. I think that would be interesting.
That would be fun.
I gotta talk to my man Charles here, because he knows how to do everything here on StreamYard, and I don't know anything to do on StreamYard because I don't do many lives on my channel. So I'll get better at the StreamYard thing.
But we all remember we're going live Thursday. This Thursday. Yeah. I don't think we decided as a trio at the time, but probably what's our usual time, 6 Central, 7 Eastern, is game night, where we're going to do all challenge related games and a little bit of the reunion if it's anything worth talking about from the reunion, but it's mostly a game night where we're going to do challenge related games.
Yeah, so join us at Kiss My Cheeks on her YouTube
channel. At Kiss My Cheeks TV on YouTube.
Yes.
We will be live. So I'm excited. Assuming it'll probably be 6 Central, 7 Eastern.
See you Thursday. I mean, that's going to be really fun. I'm going to be watching way more challenge seasons so I don't lose at some of these games. I can't lose or my challenge card will be revoked. But thank you guys so much. I need
to go ahead and do that.
Charles, thank you guys start studying
so much for joining us. Thank you for joining me again, Angie on Kiss My Cheeks TV on YouTube. Go check her out. Go subscribe. And Charles Warren, check out his line. there's always a link in every single Tiny Table Talk that I've done this season. So if you are wondering where to go check out a Tiny Table Talk or go to charleswarrenpresents.com. And he's got some great stuff.
Angel Cake.
Angel Cake. Yes. So thank you. Good night, everybody. And I hope everyone enjoyed the live. Bye.
Peace out.
Bye.